let's talk about Bitcoin mining. Cambridge has put out new numbers about the Bitcoin mining ecosystem and where Bitcoin's hash rate lives. The last time we saw a study like this, it said 0% of Bitcoin's hash rate resides in China. Well, that was a lie. It's about 20% in China. It wasn't a lie, but there's new data out there, so we can see a difference in change over the last few months. 20% of Bitcoin's hash rate resides in China. Obviously, last year, June 2021, we talked a lot about Bitcoin mining being banned in China, but it seems like a lot of those miners survived. A lot of people in the industry did think so as well. And it looks like the numbers are showing that after a while. I think that 0% figure we had for the last year just shows that a lot of miners were trying to cover their tracks. They didn't want to be exposed to the Communist Party of China and have their operations shut down. So I think that's why we saw a 0% number. But now it seems like Cambridge has some better data and some better methods for counting how many miners are in China. And that's why we see that. Just as a disclosure, I do work for a Bitcoin mining company as a content director. So anything I say about this is probably suspect. Zach, I'll throw it up to you for your take.
So much China FUD out of you, Will. Oh my God. I just want to step back a little bit. So yeah, the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, they are sort of like, in my opinion at least, they're the gold standard of quantifying the scope of power consumed to mine proof of work cryptocurrencies, chief among them being Bitcoin. And so when these reports come out with fresh data, people who watch the industry closely get really excited and look at where hash rate is distributed around the globe. And I think we've seen again these narratives of the China ban distributing hash rate certainly to Kazakhstan was a big beneficiary. The U.S. remains a big beneficiary and is growing according to these latest figures at least. So it is interesting to see quantified the distribution of global mining power. And I think when we take this in the context of sort of energy mix and carbon footprint, these become the data points that get woven into many various arguments about the deleterious impact of the Bitcoin ecosystem and the positive impact, that this energy is worth expending to have sort of a sovereign currency that can be accessed in times of trouble. So these are the data points I think that we'll see a lot of going forward when it comes to whatever side of the argument that you're on. This seems to be the best data set for understanding, again, that footprint of the mining operations around the world. But Wendy, I'll toss it to you for your thoughts.
This is more of a question or observation. We have heard so much FUD come out of China in regards to Bitcoin, in regards to cryptocurrency. But it's very interesting because China was the first place to actually really almost successfully roll out a digital CBDC. So to me, I'm taking a step back. I'm trying to follow the money. I'm trying to rationalize all of this. And I really feel like China is playing like a million D chess with us because they ban Bitcoin, they unban it, and then they ban mining, they unban it. So how are these mining companies, how are they able to sustain in such a harsh place that's supposed to be so against Bitcoin mining? So that's just a thought that I have.
Yeah, I'll toss that to Will. Really quick. Will has all the mining operation alpha. Take that, go.
The most boring sector is always on everyone's headlines these days. So just keep that in mind. Boring is good. I think it's because a lot of people think of China as like this monolith, right? Like it's this big country, it's communist, we don't know much about it. But that's not really the case, right? China has lots of different parts to it. There's lots of different provinces. Within those provinces, there's little states, jurisdictions, whatnot. And each little bit has like their own way of looking at this system. It's very much like Nazi Germany or Soviet Russia, where you would have like local officials and you could bribe them. This is my history corner, by the way, so you'll get used to it, Wendy. Like there's parts of those countries that would operate using like the very strict authoritarian rules that existed. And then there's other parts that were more lax because they were farther away. They just didn't care about the rules as much. You could bribe people. And that's very much so the case within China today, where in Beijing, you might get these edicts out about like, hey, we're going to ban Bitcoin mining. You cannot do this under penalty of prison time. And then you get a little bit farther west and they're like, hey, you slipped me $20. I'll let you keep mining. I'm not going to care that much. And I think that's why you saw a lot of Bitcoin mining activity just unplug for a little bit. And then they just plug back in when they could. And then they just pay a little bit out to bribes. Oftentimes they're also just off the grid, right? Like there's a lot of stranded energy in China. Western China has huge reserves of coal, natural gas, and water power. And people just plug in miners. They find little energy sources, they plug in their little mining operation, and before you know it, you get 20% of the Bitcoin network. So I think that is the answer. Like, people look at China and be like, it's a monolith, I don't understand it, but it really is a quite diverse country with lots of different parts, lots of different ethnic groups, lots of different jurisdictions within it.
Gotta love History Corner, Will.
They made a graphic for me, but they never showed it. So I don't know if they got scared of doing it, but we'll see. Maybe we'll do it one day.
I remember when we first spoke about the mining ban, we kind of asked the question, like, how is this going to be managed? And we speculated that really harsh punishments would be put in place to disincentivize people from mining in China. And so when I read this story, it was almost like heartwarming to see that mining is still happening and it's gone underground, especially in China, where we look at how the government rules in China, and there's, you know, huge issues with freedom of speech, and that's creeping into the financial system with CBDCs. And when we look at, you know, transparency and privacy with the CBDCs that are rolling out in China. And so it was like a heartwarming story for me to see that Bitcoin mining is still alive and well. That's my optimism for the day.
It is.
Yeah,
One thought on that really quickly, if I can, is the human side of this is really cool, right? Like, there's people who lost their livelihoods and had to go underground, and like, it's popping back up. So like, I think there's definitely a human angle, and I'd love to see some reporting, maybe from CoinDesk, about some of these miners who went underground for 6 months and came back up.
I mean, it's scary. That's sensitive. That's sensitive stuff. We don't want to, you know, we could get some, you know, we could maybe do something. All right, Will. All right, you got me. I can't say no to you.
I'll help you out.
Wendy, what do you got?
Just really quick, I just want to remind everybody, I feel like mining is one of the most underappreciated aspects of crypto, and the reason why, it is part of Bitcoin's fundamental analysis. And a lot of traders, sometimes we try to focus on, you know, different support and resistance areas, but it also kind of correlates with miners' profitability. So I just want to put that little piece of information out there. If you're actively trading or investing, please do not discount Bitcoin mining. It is immensely, immensely important as part of fundamental analysis.